Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the April 15th, 2024 Crest City Council meeting to order at 7 o'clock p.m. I would ask that everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Chris.
Ray Solomon.
Here.
Glenn Conklin.
Present.
Scott Dyke.
Here.
John Burchett. Darrell Jefferson.
Here.
Claudia Gazal.
Here.
Tina Oberlin. Mark Sapiti.
Here.
Nate Albert.
Here.
Joe Kubal. Here. Thank you.
Okay, I would ask for council's concurrence to deviate from the agenda for a quick minute and go to the city attorney's address under number 8 for a resolution adopting a policy for remote attendance at public meetings. So I will turn it over to our attorney, Mike Stiff, for those comments. Mike?
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you will recall, COVID changed all of our lives back in 2020, and there was, during the disaster declaration, an allowance for as long as one person, whether it was the mayor or the chief legal officer during COVID, as long as one person was physically present during a scheduled meeting, everybody else could participate remotely. The Open Meetings Act was later changed to allow remote attendance in certain instances as well as during a disaster declaration. Since the disaster declaration has been rescinded, we've had a couple of instances where council members had asked to participate remotely for the reasons allowed in the Open Meetings Act, which are illness or injury or personal illness or disability, employment purposes or city business, or a family or other emergency. So in those instances, a city council or a village board can allow remote attendance, but they have to adopt a policy. So since the disaster declaration has gone, we've had a couple of times when a council member has asked, and we've said that obviously you can't do it because we don't have a policy. So this has kind of been a few months in the making. I apologize for it not coming before you at a work session for further discussion, but since it had been discussed, I think, outside the context of meetings, we decided to try to bring this forward, and as it turns out, it's fortuitous because we have a council member who meets the criteria of the number one, the illness or injury. So it's on the agenda for approval today, but in order to have Councilperson Oberlin appear remotely, she knew it was on the agenda for tonight. I said that what we'd do is we'd move it to the front of the meeting so it could hopefully be passed, and that after that she could participate remotely. So what you have before you is a resolution adopting the policy for remote attendance at public meetings. It's a very simple resolution. The more important document is the policy itself, which is the Exhibit A. I patterned it after generally most of the ones that I looked at in the neighboring municipalities. There are some subtle nuances. One of the things that is an option is, in order to encourage remote attendance and not have people using that sort of as a crutch, no pun intended, that some of the policies do have a limit of the number of times any one member can take advantage of this. I don't know whether that's unduly restrictive or not, so I didn't include it, since you never know what somebody's medical situation might be. So the ones I've seen, there have been like a limit of 3 times per year. If somebody's in the hospital for, a month, then they might miss 3 meetings. So I didn't include that. I can include it, which is why the policy is in draft, but generally the policy tracks the Open Meetings Act It says that you should give notice whenever practical. Obviously, if you've had a family emergency, you might not be able to get 48 hours notice, but generally you want to give 48 hours notice where practical, so the city clerk can make the arrangements for whether it's Zoom, telephone, or other electronic means. It basically allows for a vote or an objection, so 2/3 vote to disallow is within the ordinance or within the policy. I don't know why you'd ever disallow somebody to attend remotely as long as they meet the requirements, but that's what's in a lot of the policies that I looked at. It's, I think, fairly self-explanatory. I can go through it paragraph by paragraph, otherwise I can entertain any questions or
I
thoughts
just
that you
have a
might
quick
have.
question. What about executive session? How do we permit that somebody, it's not around, they're in executive session with us, but you don't know what's the surrounding with them?
Well, I think that we have to trust the member of the public body, because this does apply to like plan commission. It's not just the city council. This covers any open meeting at the city, whether it's committees or other plan commissions. You have to take the person at their oath. You're gonna have to ask them, you know, are you alone? They should make sure they are alone. They should not be anywhere where anybody can hear, and you're gonna have to take them at their word if you're going to allow it.
Okay. Do you think we should put something like that in this resolution?
Oh, you mean the policy?
Yeah.
We could, I mean,
I'm
that
fine
would
with it.
probably make it, make Tina unable to sit in today,
It's not
because,
just like the word Tina, it can be any of us.
No,
here
no, but
that would attend
but
it.
if you're going to amend this and not pass it tonight, I think then that affects,
Okay.
right tonight, Tina's ability. You can always amend it later.
Okay. I just want to make it clear that we should be careful with that.
Oh, absolutely, you
Especially
should
with
always be
executive
careful.
session. Okay.
Whether people are sitting at executive session in person, it's the same thing. They, you know, it's confidential, and I think that what I would recommend is when you go into executive session, if you've got somebody that's attending remotely, you say to them, you know, are you alone? And make them state on the record that they are alone, that nobody can hear.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, maybe more of a question for Chris. Do we have the technology to be able to do this, both in this room and the executive session room?
We definitely have it in the executive. Out here, as you can see, here is our remote device tonight. It's cell phone and speaker. But there is nothing on these TVs that could hook us up to remote like we can in the executive room.
Through COVID, I remember when Alderman Jefferson was sick, we had a laptop, remember? That it was.
Yeah, but it'd be hard to try to get the laptop, because somebody's got to monitor it. Because I don't have a wire to,
Yeah, I remember I was monitoring him.
yeah. We'll find a better solution, but you know, we're working as fast as we can on trying to solve problems on it. But we're gonna try our best this way with it tonight. We tested it today and it came out.
But this is, again, just for the record, this is just for illness, for not like you're on the beach somewhere and you just wanna like watch a meeting, right, or be part of the meeting.
Correct. If you look at Exhibit
I mean,
A,
it would
which
be
is the
nice
policy,
sitting there.
under C, it's personal illness or disability,
Okay,
employment purposes, or city business. So if you had an alder person that actually had to go to a seminar for the city, that would count, and he or she could participate remotely from wherever they might be.
okay,
And then the third one is a family or other emergency. Now, we haven't defined those, but I think those are sufficiently clear that you'll know what constitutes a family emergency. And again, there's always the possibility if somebody is potentially taking advantage, you can vote it down by a 2/3 majority vote.
awesome. You need a motion?
I need a
I
motion.
Make a motion.
Second. A motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Dyke. The approval of a resolution adopting a policy for remote attendance at public meetings. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes?
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 1217. Just bear with me for 1 second.
And then I would recommend, now that that has been passed, even though it's not required under the policy, so if a motion isn't made, it's deemed allowed if there's not a counter motion to object, but I would recommend just for belt and suspenders, since it is in the policy, that we now have a motion to either allow or to disallow Councilperson Oberlin from attending tonight's meeting
Motion
remotely.
to allow.
I'll second to allow.
Motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderwoman Gazal, to allow Alderperson Oberlin Alderperson Oberlin to join us remotely. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
and Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Do we happen to know if Alderman Verche fits the criteria this evening?
Alderman Shea does not want to do it tonight.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna unmute her. Tina,
Yeah,
can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Can somebody at the other end talk?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear them?
Repeat it, I wasn't close enough.
Hi Tina, this is Nate, can you hear me?
Yeah, Nate, I hear you, Nate.
There we go.
Okay.
All right, Tina, this is Mike Stiff. Just to catch you up, Resolution 1217, which is the resolution adopting the remote attendance policy, was passed on a 6-0-2 absent vote. Now the record will show that you are present for the remainder of the meeting. So only Councilman Verche is absent now. And then there was also a motion to allow you to attend this meeting remotely, which was also passed on the same vote. So you are now caught up, and we're going to, I guess, Mr. Mayor, move on to the agenda as currently constituted.
Should I say that, according to this, I should say my name and say do I need to do that?
Yes, I think that that was in the policy, now that you say that.
Yes. Okay, my name is Tina Oberlin. I am present remotely by telephone, and I was unable to attend in person due to illness. And can you please make sure everybody uses their microphones tonight?
Okay, we are going to go back to the top of the agenda. There is a need for a public hearing, so I would ask for a motion
So moved.
to conduct a public hearing for the City of Crest Hills fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget. A motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Jefferson. Roll call, please.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
And Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, for the record, we are opening the public hearing at 7:13 PM. I will turn it over, does our treasurer, Glenn, do you have any opening comments?
No, I don't. I'm going to turn it over to Lisa
I will turn it over
Banovitz.
to our finance director, Lisa Banovitz, then. Lisa?
Thank you all for coming. So I am going to take just a second to get this PowerPoint up and running. And I want to let everybody know that during the presentation, if anybody has any questions, I'm asking my back is to you. I have a question, and I will stop and I will answer it. So I'm going to be projecting on both of these screens. So to let everyone know, there was a detailed packet that was published on the website that has all the details for the budget in total. And I put together a PowerPoint presentation that basically summarizes everything in a nice, neat format, and I'm going to go through that now. So this evening, we are going to have the budget hearing for the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. the purpose of the budget of the city's annual budget process is to present city council with a budget which best address the intent on how resources will be spent on behalf of the stakeholders of the city of Crest Hill. This process will provide city council with an opportunity to verify that the city is maintaining its current service levels to its residents, community stakeholders, and that it's allocating the necessary funding for infrastructure improvements while working within the constraints of the increased costs that have resulted from inflationary pressures and supply chain issues. This budget serves as a financial plan, an operations guide, as well as a communications device. There are some legal requirements that are, sorry, I'm not sure I'm talking into this. There are some legal requirements that the budget, that we need to adhere to. On February 6, 2023, City Council amended its ordinance and they adopted an annual budget in lieu of an appropriations ordinance. State law requires that City Council approves the final approved budget by its fiscal year end, which is April 30th of every year. To go over the budget schedule, on February 12, 2024, city staff brought a first draft of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget to City Council. City Council did make some recommendations and changes to that budget. So on February 26, 2024, there was a second draft of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget that was brought back to City Council. On March 4th, City Council did approve the second draft of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. That budget was then put on display. There was a notice that was put in the paper that people could either view the budget on our website or they could come in and view it, a physical copy that was made available for them at City Hall. And tonight we are having the public hearing for the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget, which allows anybody from the public to ask any questions, raise any concerns, and contribute to the budget process. So at the end, again, there will be time for questions, but during the presentation, feel free to stop also. So if all goes well, if public is in agreement with the proposed budget that is being presented here tonight and City Council doesn't have any other recommendations or changes, hopefully the budget then will be approved for fiscal year 2024 and 2025. And if it is approved tonight, it would be then timely and it would be able to be filed within our time constraints of having that filed by the end of the year, which is April 30th of 2024. So I'm going to go over some quick budget highlights. The budget draft has already been discussed with council, but for publics, just for your information, I just want to make sure that I do some point some things out. If you were to look at the budget right now, it does show a combined budget deficit of $6,576,112, and I will explain why that budget deficit exists. On January 17th, 2022, City Council voted to join the Regional Water Commission, which was then later renamed the Grand Prairie Water Commission, to provide Crest Hill stakeholders with Lake Michigan water by the year 2030. As part of joining this commission, the city has to complete its own infrastructure projects, which include water main improvements. These projects will occur over the next 6 years. These improvements will accommodate the city's infrastructure to seamlessly tap into Lake Michigan water by 2030. So I just want to make everybody aware of the fact that the total projected water sewer capital projects for fiscal year 2024 and 2025 are budgeted to be $6,450,000, and that makes up most of that deficit. I did want to point out that city staff did work with the Public Works Director as well as the city's engineer. It was recommended that the city would attempt to get ahead of the competition with the other municipalities because there are 6 municipalities who joined the Grand Prairie Water Commission who are also going to be obligated to perform infrastructure projects in order to tap into Lake Michigan. So by us trying to get ahead of these projects, we want to make sure that we're not going to be facing contractor shortages related to these projects and try to have these projects done soon rather than later. The process of having the majority of these projects done in the upcoming fiscal year, the city is hoping to receive better pricing and have a selection of qualified contractors to choose from to perform the required infrastructure improvements in order to tap into Joliet's infrastructure to receive Lake Michigan by 2030. And in a future slide, I'm going to show you what that $6,450,000, what those projects entail. The city did perform a water sewer rate study to ensure that it will be able to recuperate costs associated with the Grand Prairie Water Commission. And this will be accomplished through water sewer rate increases that are going to occur over the next 6 years. These next few slides are going to show you the numbers in each of the funds. And this is the general fund. The general fund serves as the basic operating fund for the city. It encompasses the core services and the day-to-day operations. It is extremely important that the city is able to prepare a budget that's balanced in the general fund in order to be sustainable not only in the upcoming fiscal year, but every single year thereafter. And as you can see at the very bottom, I'll circle this here and in green, the general fund does show a budget surplus of $21,884. I will go through in future slides the revenue and the expenditures in the general fund. We also have some other major funds. MFT stands for motor fuel tax. We have a 1% sales tax that comes back to us for non-home rule. That's kept in a separate fund. I will talk about that also. We have a fund that's related just to water revenue that's received for money that we receive for charging for services for water sewer. We have separate expenditures in this fund for water, sewer, STP, and water administration. Down here, I just want to point out this $6,147,465 does include meters. The city is in the process of changing out its meters to automatic meter reads, and that's where that expense is held. If there's any surplus after we have the water revenue and those other expenditures, we have to pay debt service payment. We do have 2 debt service payments that relate to water sewer projects. One is an IEPA loan and one is a general obligation loan. And any other surplus then goes to fund water sewer related capital projects. The city does have a capital replacement fund. Currently, there's $68,180 that is budgeted. That is for a Vector truck that the city financed a couple of years ago. I believe there's 3 payments left there. That's what that dollar amount is. So I had started the presentation. The next fund is water sewer capital. And here's the $6,450,000 of projects that is currently budgeted. Again, I will show you the detail of that in just a moment. Down below, you have capital improvement projects. The expenditures for those are $2,325,000, and these are non-water sewer related projects, and I will also show you the detail of what that makes up in the budget. The city does have 2 active TIF funds. We have a Larkin TIF fund and we have a new TIF fund at Weber and Division. So you will see this $100,000 here. This being a new fund, we don't know how much money is going to come to the city for projects, but I did speak to somebody at Will County who projected that the amount of money the city is going to receive in increment financing next year is $100,000. So that's currently what the city is projecting is going to be spent in that fund next year. Water sewer debt, as I just mentioned. We do have 2 different debt funds. One's related to just water sewer projects, and then the other one down here, you see the capital construction debt. This actually is the payment that goes towards the city hall and the police station. The city is doing some improvements on its west plant, and I will talk about that later. There's a separate fund that accounts for the activity in that fund. We have a garbage fund that's strictly just a pass-through. We hire a vendor to go out and collect the garbage. The vendor charges the city for their services. The city then charges the residents for the services. So it's strictly a pass-through. There's no profit made there. Police pension fund, that's a fiduciary fund. The city doesn't own those assets. Any money that comes to the city through the police pension fund is then passed on to the police pension themselves. So we're strictly fiduciaries with those assets. We do have a fund for special assets for police. So any assets that are required either through forfeiture or seizure are accounted for in here. The state of Illinois requires that there's special reporting for this. So we track these expenditures very closely and the police department does a great job. So in summary, you can see down here, our total revenue for the next upcoming fiscal year 24-25 is $52,672,304. Total expenditures are coming in higher, as I started off the presentation, $59,248,416, with that fund deficit being $6,576,112. Are there any questions at this time? Council, okay. I'm going to continue on. So I'm going to start off with the general fund. And as I stated before, the general fund is showing a surplus of $21,884. I just want to run through some quick key assumptions with the public. I've already spoken with council at the 2 work sessions as far as what staff put into creating the general fund, but just for your knowledge, I can point these out. The city does levy for property taxes, and historically, that money has been split 50% to the general fund and 50% to the police pension fund. The actuary who does the police pension fund did notify the city that we would need to contribute an additional $250,000 more than we have in the past. And the city always funds the actuary amount to the police pension fund at 100%. So when the levy was filed, the general fund received $250,000 less than it has in past years, and the police pension fund got $250,000 more. Again, that was based on what the actuarial said that the city should be contributing. So there is currently a 5% placeholder for all non-union employees for merit increases. Those have not been decided yet. There may be some people who get more than 5%, some people who get less, but again, we're going through the evaluation process right now. That hopefully will be done soon, and hopefully this is an aggressive number, so hopefully that might come down a little bit. We are unsure at this point in time. This year's budget did add 1 full-time equivalent, so it added 1 new employee over last year, and that is for an audio-visual specialist in the police department. So this is a new position for fiscal year 2025. By contract, the collective bargaining agreement states that all 150 employees will receive a 4% raise. Also, the collective bargaining for all MAP union employees states that each employee will receive a 3.5% increase. And the city's property casualty and workers' comp insurance are expected to increase 28% over the previous year. This is currently an estimate. I have this higher number in the budget right now. On April 25th, the city will be meeting with its insurance broker to hopefully discuss final numbers. They've been working with different vendors in the market to try to get as best of a price for the insurance for the city as possible. So right now, this is just an estimate, but I believe it's on the high end. And to remain fiscally responsible, staff will seek approval from council to place its current legal services and IT vendor services out for RFP during fiscal year 24-25 to ensure that the city is receiving the best services at the lowest and most competitive prices. This obviously would have to be done with council's approval before anything moved on that. General fund revenue. The current budget has general fund revenue to be $12,502,372 for fiscal year 24-25. This is an increase of 1% over last year's budget, mainly because last year we had in our budget $2 million that the city had expected to receive in grant funding from the DCEO. We had filed for these grants in our fiscal year 2022, so that was 2 years ago, so we were pretty sure we were going to see the funding this fiscal year, and we did not. So hopefully, I'm thinking we're pretty close to getting that money, so that if we do get that money, we can then amend the budget to account for that additional revenue in 2025. The city does use Illinois Municipal League's projections for shared revenue, and that is for state income taxes that is collected, state use tax, cannabis tax, motor fuel tax in its own fund, and the city will receive money from the state based on the number of people, the population of the city. That's on a per capita basis. So this is just a snapshot. These are what the numbers look like. I'm going to show you in just a second a couple graphs and a pie chart. But you can see that our revenues, our main sources, we have state income tax coming in at the largest. Again, this is a shared amount based on the number of people who are in the city. That comes in at 28%. Our sales tax is at 24%. I do also want to point out here, down here, Places for Eating tax, that's a new source of revenue that started on January 1st of 2023. With the city being non-home rule, we do not have options to bring in new sources of revenue, so this has been invaluable for us to have this source. So we're sort of limited as far as the different types of revenue that we can generate. So if you want to look at a pie graph, here's your state income taxes, and then here's state sales tax, property taxes, your franchise tax, online sales tax, places for eating, and then just some smaller taxes here. Historical look back 5 years. This shows the different categories. Just a bar graph just to show you how those look how they've progressed over the years in the different categories. Sales tax revenue, I always like to talk to, I always like to tell council. So the city had, as of December 31st, $2.9 million came to the city in sales tax. And I always like to list the top 5 generators. We have Menards, who is 19%, that is of the total. 19% of the $2.9 million is generated by Menards. Then comes William F. Myers. There is a concern that we have. We do have 2 grocery stores, Food for Less and El Guero, that are in our top 5. And with the state talking about possibly eliminating the local grocery sales tax, we may need to adjust our spending, because I just took a quick look, and that's about $98,000 of revenue that we may not get if the state does do something with that. So we'll keep a close eye on it, and I will be in communication with council if the laws change and we have to take a look at that in the future. We're going to move on to the general fund expenditures. City is estimating that the general fund expenditures to be $12,480,488 for the upcoming fiscal year. This is actually a decrease of the previous year's expenditures by 6%, or $853,330. Last year, the city had somewhat of a surplus and was able to contribute $741,800 towards the capital improvements for streets. This year, we didn't have that luxury, so that's why the expenses went down a little bit. Also, last year, we did ratify, the city council approved to ratify the city's MAP Union Police contract, which had expired on May 1st, 2022. So there was retro payments that were made to the police officers during 2024 that obviously are not going to be made during 2025 because there was some catch-up that had been done last year. Inflation is factored into this draft budget to account for the increases in prices for the purchase of goods and services compared to the previous fiscal year. So I do want to point out here, this is what the general fund departments look like in total compared to each other. City council is very determined to make sure that the citizens are safe who live in the city of Crest Hill. That is why police make up 46% of the pie, or this chart here. So a lot of money is invested into the police to make sure that the community is safe. The second largest departments are streets and administration. Again, here is a chart, a line chart, just showing you by department what the expenses look like over the past 5 years. Again, police is being the largest just due to wanting to have that public safety element within the city. So I started off the presentation, I know people probably were a little concerned hearing that large number. We do have money, was that Tina? Okay. We do have money in the bank. This money that I'm showing you right here is unrestricted. So in our water fund, we currently have $11,459,005 that is going to be used to fund those projects that will be paid back over time during that the water sewer rates that are going to happen over the next 6 years. We also have $7,890,000 in our general fund. So the city isn't going to go broke. I understand it's always good to pass a balanced budget, but due to tapping into Lake Michigan, there are projects that need to be done. Motor fuel tax and federal transportation funds budget. So this is kept in a separate fund. This is money that we get based on fuel sales, and it's based on the number of people who we have in the city. And our engineer worked closely with council and came up with the projects that were going to be done next year with the money that we're projecting to get. So this has already been discussed at a couple of work sessions. Non-home rule sales tax, this is that 1% tax I told you about, comes back to the city. So the money that comes in from this fund does fund the debt payment for the city center. We also fund a property tax rebate program. That is, if a resident or a property owner within the city of Crest Hill owns property, they are eligible, if they come in and they fill out paperwork, to receive 25% of the city portion of the tax that they pay back as in a check. And good news, I was told that, I'm hoping they said by this Thursday they're supposed to go out. So it has been delayed, and I appreciate everybody's patience, but they're supposed to be going out later this week. And once we do have a determination on that, we will post something on our website. I will let City Council know, and they can make an announcement at the next meeting when those are going out. Any excess here goes to capital projects. These are non-water sewer related projects. There is one economic incentive that the city has with one of its grocery stores. This is the last year, so fiscal year 2025 is the last year of that payment, and that agreement will end. So the city does have a separate fund to account for the revenue and the expenditures that supply a safe, potable water supply for domestic and industrial usage, and the expenditures that support a dependable system for collecting and treating wastewater in the city. And this is just what it looks like. Here's our revenue. Here's our water administration, water expenses. We have STP and sewer. And again, here's just a graph looking back. This actually shows current year budget, last year's budget, and last year's actual by department. And here's our magic numbers. So the $6,450,000, these are the water sewer capital projects that the city is going to hopefully get done next year. We want to get ahead of the curve so that when 2030 hits, we're ready to just go. And again, trying to get ahead of it, making sure that we get qualified contractors, making sure that we're not paying higher prices because of the competition. That was the reason why we were talking about trying to get these projects done next year if we can. So if you want to just take a quick second to take a look at what's up there. I can go back to it if you want, I'll move on. So water sewer debt. So there are two debt issuances. There's one IEPA loan, there's one general obligation bond. And these debt issuances were issued to support the construction and the improvement of the city's water supply facilities and wastewater treatment plants. The West plant was originally constructed in 1960. It had some rehabilitation done in 1990, but there is a need to do some further rehabilitation. So these are the projects that are currently projected to be done for next year for the city's West plant rehabilitation. Capital project funds. So these are non-water sewer related projects. A couple of years ago, the city's engineer did come to city council. He had done a study on the current streets in Crest Hill, and he had ranked them from good to poor. So there was a commitment made by city council that we were gonna commit funds to trying to get those streets that are not in great condition up to better condition. So you can see the first project here is rehabilitation for $1,100,000. And then the rest of these are projects that the engineer had discussed with city council as what's currently in the budget to be performed next year. Give you a second to take a look at those. Refuse or garbage. So the city has a 3.5% escalator in its contract that is passed on to the residents. That's per contract. And the customers are currently billed every 2 months for this service. Police pension fund, again, this is a fiduciary fund. The city doesn't own any of these assets. As soon as we get them, we pass them on to the appropriate place. The police pension fund is currently monitored by Lauterbach and Amon. They control the monthly financial statements. They also do the actuarial value, telling the city what its portion needs to be in order to make sure that it's going to be funded by 2040, which is a mandate. Participating employees in the police pension fund contribute 9.91% of their salary to the plan. And The city actually, a few years ago, implemented a long-range plan to have the police pension fully funded by 2038. And by resolution, the city contributes an additional $150,000 over what the actuarial is requesting that they contribute. We want to make sure that we can get the plan fully funded by 2030. And as of, I'm skipping ahead of myself, state law does require that police pension funds are funded at 90% by 2040. As of April 30th, 2023, which was when we had our last audit, the actuarial value of assets for the police pension fund was 68.11%. So we're doing pretty well. So in conclusion, the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget presents a sound fiscal plan which embodies the city's disciplined approach to spending and dedication to its vision and striving for the continuous improvement of the community. This budget will be closely monitored during the next fiscal year and will follow City Council's vision for the community. So this is the opportunity for anybody to ask any questions, either City Council or anybody from the public, if there are any questions. You can address them. I can go back and sit down in my place, and if you can address any of us.
Questions from city council? Anybody in the audience like to address? Please step to the podium, your name for the record, your address is optional, ma'am.
I had a question. I know they're trying to get funds. We have a lot of buses at the end of our street that have caused quite a bit of health problems for me. The EPA that we talked to said they should all have electrical things that their buses can plug into, so because they're diesel, and that way in the wintertime they won't run their buses constantly. The other thing is, if we were to give each one of those buses a city sticker like they have us get for cars, that might get some revenue. That's just one of my things I wanted to talk about, but it has to do with this. So I don't know if you want me to tell you the rest now or not.
I think we got rid of city stickers in 2016,
No, I mean for the
maybe?
buses, that would bring in revenue,
I know,
considering.
but we got
it's-
rid of city stickers citywide for everybody,
Oh, well, maybe they could reenact.
maybe.
Yeah, because that'd be a way to make some income, considering the buses don't even, most of them don't service us in Crest Hill. I think there's 2 that service us. The rest are all from Plainfield and other places that don't want the stinky things in their backyard. But I know I've developed lung problems and asthma problems from those things. They're right by my house.
Okay.
And I know other people too. My neighbor, she developed emphysema. She moved, and now she's starting to feel better. I know a kid that died of cancer. They're not good for us, and there's too many there. I don't know who's benefiting from having them there, but the point was that maybe we could make some revenue off of them since they're there.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I just have a couple comments, and we always have the budget presentation, but we never explain it to the resident the way we did today, so I want to thank you for doing that. I know for us, we've seen it already, and I think this was very explanatory, very to the point, but you know how I feel about this budget. To me is, I understand the water, Lake Michigan Water is taking the majority of this deficit, but as an elected official and as a resident, I do have many concerns of, we keep talking about how we're gonna spend, we haven't talked about how we're gonna create money, how we're gonna bring money to the city, especially with this couple things that they're happening with Statesville closing and the project it's gonna take 3 to 5 years, that's 25% of our water revenue. Also, you stated 98% probably the state will pass this about the grocery stores, so that's another concern. As I mentioned, one of the meetings, we have a possibility of another grocery store that's gonna close down. So we have streets that are falling apart, even though I know, Ron, you're doing your best, but we can only give you so much money. The good news is that we have a good general fund, but what can we do with the rest of the city? So we can say we have a healthy general fund, but yet we are short on many things. Our police department needs another police, correct, Ed? That we're not able to give him. And safety comes first. So what do you pick first, streets or safety? To me, it's safety, but also the streets are important. So this city, and I'm not picking on you, Glenn or Lisa. I don't want you guys to, you guys have gone above and beyond. Like I said, we never had a budget explanatory like that for the resident, and I appreciate that. But as a city, we have to start thinking about what we're gonna do to bring revenue, because our expenses, they continue on increasing, you know? What we're gonna do to measure that. So if this is how we are right now. Everything is increasing and our salaries are here. So are we gonna do like some studies? You, Mayor, I haven't seen you like saying anything throughout the budget, not one word. Like increasing just on resident to increase just their water bill and their garbage, and that's not the way we increase, the other day, you know, for rental, okay. How much more we can put on the resident? What is our future gonna look like? That's what we have to look at right now. I think that should be the next step. We should focus the next year to see how we're gonna create revenue for the city. We are landlocked, and what is our next step? So I just wanna make that for the record. And also the reason is, as I said, I'm gonna abstain for this budget. Again, it's not against the treasurer office, because they've gone above and beyond. It's due to what I've stated from the beginning. Since February, I requested salary studies, and due to a comment that the council was not allowed to make a decision about raises, and I have been requesting every meeting, I have requested that. And I want to thank our administrator for finally, you said that the 29 will have that. But
Yes.
I get the comment, if I don't have it before the budget, I won't be voting for the budget. And I hope the council will not follow me on that. That's just how I feel. And I'm not advertising here that we should not vote on that. But we have staff that have been working so much. They have gotten 2 and 3 jobs that they've been doing for the last couple of years. And I think they need to be compensated ASAP. Because we cannot continue on having all these interims, and no offense to the interims, we have 4 interims that is costing us 4 times the salaries of what we have. So they are working extra. They're coming here to help us, but we also need to help our staff, the few that we have left, that they're handling these departments. So I hope the 29 will pass this salary studies. And that's my comment for tonight.
Anybody else from council?
Well, I would just like to thank Lisa for her hard work, and Glenn and all the department heads, because these budgets that we have gotten since Lisa came on board are so professional and so well executed and so comprehensible, and I just want them to know how much I appreciate all of them.
Thank you.
Okay, we will be voting on the budget at the end of the meeting. So I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So move, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderman Jefferson to close the public hearing at 7:49 PM. Roll call, please.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
and Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, public hearing is closed at 7:49 PM. Mike, do we need a motion to go back into regular session or no?
No.
Okay, we'll continue with the agenda items. First is the approval of the minutes of the city council meeting held on April 1st, 2024. Motion will be in order.
So
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of the April 1st, 2024 city council minutes. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, next you have the approval of the minutes of the work session held on April 3rd, 2024. Motion would be in order.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Alderman Dyke, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of the work session minutes of April 3rd, 2024. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Nate Albert,
Abstain.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, you have before you the minutes of the work session held on April 4th, 2024. Motion would be in order.
So moved, Mayor. Second.
Motion by Alderman Jefferson, seconded by Alderman Dyke for the approval of the minutes of the work session held on April 4th, 2024. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Next, you have the minutes of the work session held on April 8th, 2024. Motion will be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of the work session minutes of April 8th, 2024. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
and Nate Albert.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And last, you have before you the minutes of the work session held on April 9th, 2024. Motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Dyke for the approval of the April 9, 2024 minutes of the work session. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, next to our city attorney, he has one agenda item, number 7 on the agenda. Mike?
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Item number 7 on the agenda is a resolution to post a public notice for the sale of surplus property. The resolution, it's similar to the one that was passed by the council right before the move to the new city council, city campus. The resolution, because the old city hall is in a TIF district, requires that this be published and bids or offers solicited. Again, this resolution is similar to the one that was previously done. That one had a time limit, and there was one offer that ultimately was not successful. So this basically re-racks the procedure and starts it again. If you look to page 2 of the draft resolution that is in your packet, the submission of offers should be provided by 4 o'clock on May 6th. That gives us till the end of, providing this passes tonight, it will be published in the Herald News. Hopefully by Friday, it gives them the full 10 days to provide offers. There has been some interest. This will allow us to continue to negotiate with the person or the developer that has expressed interest, but it also will open the field to any other potential offers. And so the resolution is in your packet. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So this is just for the, what we discussed in the executive session?
Yes.
Only to pertain that or any other options?
No, this will open it to offers. So obviously the people that are interested that was discussed in the executive session, they are able to make an offer, but this opens it to anybody else. So you might get 10 offers, you might just get one, but this basically puts out notice to the world that we are taking offers for the property.
Okay. So
And
the
each one of
vote-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the vote won't be for what's going there, it's only to open it for that, correct?
And it will allow you to begin negotiating with anybody who submits an offer for something in particular or any other restrictions that were discussed previously.
Mike, does the, sorry, Claudia, you were done? Does the date, is that kind of set up by the TIF district itself, or where does that May 6th date come from?
Well, I talked with Dave Silverman, who has prepared the TIF. He said that 10 days is about the shortest that he would go. So to keep this on a fast track, I picked the date of May 6th, that would give 10 days from publishing it, hopefully by the end of the week. You can obviously expand that if you would like.
But
I just
mean,
wanted to keep it moving.
Theoretically, haven't we been accepting offers for the last, year?
Well, theoretically, it's been for sale for the past year, and somebody could approach us, but again, because the last time we did this, it was a finite date, the recommendation is that we start the process again, even though it has been on the market.
Should we limit ourselves to that end date?
No, you don't have to.
I mean, at
that's
that May 6th, does that mean no more bids could come in?
what it means.
And we just said we had one all of last year. I don't know if we really, is in our best interest to have an end date, because you never know who might want to propose something, but if it's past that date, it's not even an option.
It's the council's pleasure. I mean, you can keep it open for as long as you like, but, I mean, the idea was to keep it moving with this particular party that is interested right now. Would not like to lose them.
Well, they wouldn't necessarily be lost by that change. I mean,
Well, my fear is that if you're negotiating with somebody that comes in now and you agree on a deal and it's still open, you've already limited yourself to something that might come afterward. I mean, I think it's better to have a date certain that you know you have. I mean, and you can expand it. I mean, you can move it further down the line. But you'd like to have all your offers in so you can obviously negotiate with multiple people as opposed to just one. But it's the council's pleasure. I mean, 10 days is the minimum that I would recommend.
And Mike, as far as section F with the appraisal amount, does that appraisal time out?
Well, as we discussed, I don't want to get into what was discussed in the executive session, but I mean, the appraisal is 2 years old, I believe now, and obviously there have been market changes since then, and obviously, the appraisal is the appraisal that you're working off of. If you want to do a new appraisal, that's the council's pleasure as well.
Motion would be in order.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Dyke, seconded by Alderman Jefferson.
We got a second already, Tina, thank you.
For the approval of a resolution to post a public notice for the sale of surplus property, Old City Hall, 1610 Plainfield Road, Crest Hill, Illinois, 60403. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Motion carries. It's gonna be resolution 1216.
That is all I have on the agenda, but I will entertain
Okay, any
any other
questions of our city attorney?
I have a question for you. In regard our FOIAs, I understand we cannot ask for an address, supposedly a name, but is there a way we can add a phone number? We have an incident where a FOIA was done only by an email. And basically it's an email that it was created just to do FOIA. Is there a way we can change that we can add a phone number so we can have a little bit more control? Because this was a FOIA from internal, like staff that they're doing that.
I would need to look into it, but I believe there are PAC opinions that say that you cannot, even if it's an email that is made up for a FOIA, that's legitimate and has to be complied with. But I can look into it.
Can you look into it?
I can.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Moving on to our city administrator, Tony Graff. Good evening, Tony.
And I placed at your locations an updated memo. Probably the one area that we should be concerned about is we've been working on the water meter replacement program now for, it's gonna be almost a year. We have 133 properties that have not complied to allow our contractor to enter their homes to change out the meter. So we're gonna be looking at sending out a fourth letter, and we're gonna be looking at legal options which could lead to possible shut-offs or administrative adjudication tickets could be issued for non-compliance of our ordinance. So as soon as the letter is reviewed by the attorneys, you'll get copies of them before we mail them out. But we're down to 133 properties, which isn't bad since you had over 4,000. But we're at that point now, we want to get this project done, so our meters are installed. The Grand Prairie Water Commission, we've been working diligently with getting all the bylaws and all the program management agreements, the joint agreements with all the other municipalities. We're being told by the attorneys that we should have final draft documents that we're going to be able to go through with the city council. Hopefully in the next maybe 3 weeks, we'll be able to release those documents and give you all an update of where the requirements are going to be and how we're going to be working through the management of this project. Remember, it's about a $1.2 billion project from construction, and we're still working with that budget. We've got some challenges still, but we'll give you more of an update for all the municipalities at the same time. One concern about Stateville, we have put that on the program review. So we're going to be looking to position ourselves with some language that if that does happen and we lose revenue from the impact, we're going to be looking at what are our financial options. So the city doesn't have to look at that burden. If we do, we're going to look at options to be able to continue to fund. So I think we're at a good point to where our water allocation, 4.1 million gallons a day is what our allocation was when they did the study. We reaffirmed that the other day with the commission to continue that allocation. We are doing some backup information from the engineers to see if we need to allocate possibly a reserve, but that'll be something that all the municipalities are going to have to look at too. But staff's been working diligently. We wanted to make the time frame where everything can be approved probably by June, if not sooner. So we'll have some work sessions that we'll have to schedule up in May. Probably one work session alone just on this project, because there'll be a lot of information you're going to be receiving. We'll get the information to you plenty in advance with some reports, so that there'll be summaries in there to tell you where we're at with this project. The only other thing I had on the agenda was there is a delay because of the Stateville project with the crime lab. We were hoping to see the final civil engineering and the concept of the building. They're working on that now because of the change with possibly the rebuild. How are they going to connect the water and sewer? So the civil engineers are now communicating to each other, and hopefully we'll have a presentation sometime in May, maybe even June, where the crime lab will come in with their concept plan and the rebuild they're doing out there. So, and then the training facility that you guys had a presentation on for the fire department, they're hoping to have a concept design to be able to bring back to the city council in a work session of how that's going to, how many stories. If they're looking at a range, they are looking at some new designs for the gun range to limit that exposure and that noise and air quality and those type of things. So it's not a done deal. If you hear anything that they've got a bid in or anything like that, they do not. They're still working through the final designs, and they'll bring something back, as they said when they met with some of the councilwomen, Gazelle and Durrell. They'll bring you something very soon to be able to look at.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions of city administrator?
Just to
I do,
clarify-
Tony. Is there any reason why we didn't receive your report in an email on Friday versus today in front of us?
Just trying to catch up with work and
Well-
trying to get the most current information to you today. And
Well, I appreciate that, but I think Friday before the Monday meeting is pretty sufficient, especially if it's something you're going to present at the meeting. we don't have time to read it ahead of time like we typically do with everything else in the packet. And if we had a question or anything, we could have dealt with it off, before the meeting. And
Okay.
if it was a quick question or it's appreciated to get it on Friday before the meeting if it's gonna be part of this meeting. Yeah, go ahead.
Tony, just a quick question. You stated something about the Stateville, that they're gonna give us like a footprint probably?
No, the crime lab will.
The crime lab?
Stateville, we're still, I think, months down the road yet for them to decide how they're going to put some designs together with the current footprint and then their vacant property too. The last conversation we've had with them, they're still trying to work out what type of facilities they're gonna need in regards to it. So I think the crime lab will be an accurate design, and they wanna start building it, so it isn't like they're gonna put that project off. The crime lab is needed, so is the new district office for the state police. So I think that's still getting built.
Do you know if we're gonna have like any meetings? Because I have a staff member that reached out to me and also reached out to a couple of states representative, and when he reached out, he said to Natalie Manley and Rachel Ventura, and he has concerns and he's reaching out. I'm not sure if he's gonna reach the rest of the council, but he wanted to know if we're gonna have meetings with the state to know they're concerned about their jobs, they're concerned about their lifestyle, how it's gonna change, and I didn't know how much to answer, and I told him I would look into it and get back. Is there any planning of the state to come with the council and discuss the future plans and what is the next step and any of that, or are they just gonna do it their way?
Part of it's gonna do it their way, but they have put on record that while they're getting through the planning design area, they're gonna keep communicating and update us. So once we start receiving some type of concepts, we'll be able to share that and ask them to come to a meeting too. Along with the legislators have been in contact with us too, asking, and they're down there in Springfield asking the same questions directly to the governor's office and to the deputy director of corrections. And at this point, they're getting the same thing we're getting. We're not sure yet of the design of the plan, if it's gonna be a lockup facility for maximum security only, if it's gonna add the female from Logan Correctional, is that gonna be something they're gonna look at to bring here? They're also talking about vocational schools, they're talking about rehabilitative centers. A lot of balls are in the air. What they'd like to do is, for the model, I think once they can narrow those down, then we'll start seeing some subcategories of designs that we could they'll probably wanna share with everybody. But that's the best we could give you, because the hour meetings that we have, there's like 21 people on the Zoom meeting from all their staff, and they encourage us to listen in and throw some ideas out if we have to. And we've always said one of the biggest things is the economic impact to the area, jobs and growth. And if there's gonna be any vacant property not used, we've had a design done by Hitchcock for the 200 acres. We'd like that to still be a possibility for commercial development, mixed use or something. And they did ask us to send that design to them, just so they have it on record of what was done a couple of years ago.
Thank you. I might forward the email to you from that gentleman.
Okay.
You can answer some
Thank
of
you.
his questions.
Okay, thanks, Tony.
One question, Tony.
Yes.
Is Stateville gonna build another, outdoor, is Stateville gonna build another outdoor gun range, or?
At this point, they haven't ruled that out, but they do know that the district headquarters is gonna have a gun range update there. We did tell them about the training facility that the fire department was proposing, a multi-discipline for police, fire, and first responders. So we let them know we would we'd like to have one consolidated range for the whole area instead of just on Stateville. That could be a little bit of an operational concern that we heard, but they're open to that idea of how can we consolidate.
Right,
I think we need to ask that and keep asking.
okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Tony. Moving on to our Public Works Department, our Public Works Director, Mike Ulitz. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I have one memo on the agenda tonight. It's an approval of pay request number 15 for Vistering Construction. They're doing the work at the West Treatment Facility, West Treatment Plant. We're asking for approval of a payment request in the amount of $1,202,822.05. Upon approval, we will then submit the pay request to the IEPA, and once we receive a disbursement check from the EPA, we will then make the payment to the contractor.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderperson Overland, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of pay request number 15 from Vistering Construction Incorporated with direction to send it to the IEPA for approval and disbursement for a total amount of $1,202,822.05. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
And Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. That is all I have, but I'll entertain any questions or concerns you may have.
Any questions of Public Works? All right.
Thank you for what you do.
Thanks, Mike.
you.
Moving on to our city engineer, Ron Wiedemann. Good evening, Ron.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have two items tonight. The first item, approve a resolution approving a construction agreement for the Park Roads water main replacement and road reconstruction improvement by and between the city of Crest Hill, Will County, Illinois, and H. Linden and Sons Sewer and Water for an amount of $1,533,203.21.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderman Jefferson to approve a resolution approving an agreement for Park Rose street water main replacement road reconstruction improvement by and between the city of Crest Hill, Will County, Illinois, and H. Linden and Sons Sewer and Water for an amount of $1,533,203.21. And this was discussed last week at our work session also. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 1218.
Second item, looking for a motion to approve a resolution approving an agreement for the Hillcrest Water Main Replacement Design Engineering Services by and between the city of Crest Hill, Will County, Illinois, and Christopher B. Burke Engineering for an amount of $87,415, and this was discussed at the last workshop.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderperson Overland to approve a resolution approving an agreement for Hillcrest Water Main Replacement Design Engineering Services by and between the city of Crest Hill, Will County, Illinois, Christopher B. Burke Limited for an amount of $87,415. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
And Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 1219.
And in regards to the Park Rose project, all the residents have been notified of the start of construction. We have a pre-con scheduled for this Wednesday. Contractor started delivering his equipment today. So work should begin out there in the next 2 weeks or so. He would like to start early. He's got a hole in his schedule, so the earlier he starts, the earlier he gets finished, so.
Okay, any questions of our engineer?
I have a comment, an amazing comment. I know Lisa started on this and she applied for the DCEO grant, but our city engineer pushed for it, so now we get approved. And you wanna tell the total is $1,065,000?
It's actually $2,065,000. Lisa signed agreements last week. So the agreements are now signed. Now it just goes through the appropriation process. That's my guess on how long that's gonna take, but I would assume sometime within this fiscal or the 2025 budget, we should receive these funds.
That is an amazing news, and thank you for both of you, but thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Sealed the deal.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Moving on to community development, our community development director, Ron Messer. Good evening, Ron.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council, thank you. I have one item on the agenda tonight.
Thank
Thank you, Attorney. I have one item on the agenda tonight. We're seeking a motion to approve an ordinance granting a variance to the Crest Hill sign code for 1206 Cedarwood Drive, Crest Hill, Illinois. That is the property that the Will County Children's Advocacy Center acquired last year.
He's not done yet.
I'm so sorry, Nikki, stop talking here.
Acquired last year, remodeled, and is currently occupying. They are proposing to construct a new monument sign on the property, and the variance request that they've requested put forth is to increase the size of the changeable copy sign on the copy area on the sign from 20 square feet to 28 square feet. The public hearing was held on March 18th, and the ordinance included in the backup material is been prepared to grant that approval with several conditions that ensure that the sign is managed in a way that minimizes the impact on the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay, any questions from council for community development? I see Lisa Lasses here. Lisa, would you like to make any comments? No? All right, let me ask, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against the request of a variance of the Will County Children's Advocacy Center for a sign variance at 1206 Cedarwood Drive? Please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Your address is optional. Second request, anyone like to speak for or against the request of the Will County Children's Advocacy Center for variance to the sign code at 1206 Cedarwood Drive? Please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Address is optional. And a third request. Anyone would like to speak for or against the request of the Will County Children's Advocacy Center? Please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Address is optional. Let the record show that no one has approached the podium. The Plan Commission did approve the ordinance or the variance also, so I'd ask for a motion from City Council.
You have like two of
Mr.
those.
Mayor, this did not go before the Plan Commission. This was, the sign code is in the city's
my
code of
fault.
ordinances. So, the public hearing was held here,
Okay,
before
I
the city
second the
council.
motion that Tina made.
all right. We have a motion by Alderman Overland, seconded by Alderman Albert, to grant the variance to the Crest Hill sign code at 1206 Cedarwood Drive, Crest Hill, Illinois, 60403. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Motion carries ordinance 1980.
Okay, now would you like to say anything, Lisa?
Thank you. First of all, thank you very, very much. It's been a great welcome to the city of Crest Hill. We appreciate not only the vote, but we appreciate so many of you coming to our ribbon cutting and open house on last Monday. So thank you very much. The home has been, the new building has become our home. Families really, really appreciate coming to a nice neighborhood with nice parking lots, beautiful lights, and a nice building. So we really, truly are happy to be here. So thank you to the council and here and all the city staff. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and welcome to the city of Crest Hill. That was an awesome, I think they were projecting about 300 people were there.
Yeah, right.
That was,
We
and
were
it was very well done.
Well, it was very nice to see all our new friends there, so thank you very much.
And we even had the solar eclipse.
Yeah,
So,
right. That was
it
fun.
was-
Well, I have to say kudos to Senator Ventura, who provided all the
Yeah,
eclipse
glasses.
glasses, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us, but we forget to mention one of our
What?
aldermen. He was there.
Oh,
He was not mentioned. Alderman Dyke was there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's
We
okay,
didn't
but I
have a
just wanted to
second.
recognize
I'm sorry.
that.
Well, thank you. I do remember seeing you, so thank you. I'm sorry you weren't
That's all right.
on the agenda.
The building looks wonderful.
Thank you. Well, you're going to really appreciate the sign, and we'll invite you when we unveil that, too.
All
So,
right.
Thank you.
Very good. You have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, anything else? Ron?
I have no any formal items, but will do my best to address any questions or concerns the council
Any
has.
questions of Ron?
Hey,
All right.
Ron, I noticed that at the Walgreens store that's now closed, they painted the pedestal sign white to blank it out, but the light still comes on in the evening, so you can see, Walgreens. Maybe if you can, with your connections, just make a call to have them turn that monument sign off.
Definitely. I do have a connection that will make sure that that gets taken care of, so I'll follow up on that tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Ron. Moving on, our police department, our police chief, Ed Clark. Good evening, Ed.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I do not have any agenda items this evening. Just wanted to kind of update City Council with the incident that we had last week, the shooting incident. We're still working on this case, we're making some progress. One thing I wanted to let Council know is that the FBI is coming in to work with us. They're going to share their resources and their technical experience, a lot of their IT stuff that we can use. So I'm very excited about that. And I'll update council when we have any more progress. Second thing was, Cop on a Rooftop again is May 17th from 5 a.m. to noon. So anybody who wants to stop by and make a donation to Special Olympics of Illinois, that would be a great opportunity to do so. So we'll be out there. There will be officers on the rooftop, and usually the rookies have to wear the donut costume, so they'll be there as well. So other than that, I'll entertain any questions.
I think my kid is laughing. Probably he needs dressed little donuts.
Any questions? Okay, thanks, Ed.
She had a question.
Hang on. There'll be a time at the end of the meeting. Okay, thanks, Ed. Moving on to the mayor's report. We have a resolution before you with our consulting agreement with William McCluskey to provide the cable television broadcasting and audio-visual services to the city of Crest Hill, County, Illinois. He was at our work session last week. You have a copy of everything in your packet, so I would ask for a motion of approval.
So
Second.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of the consulting agreement for audiovisual services with William McCluskey. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 1220.
Okay, thank you for that. I also have 5 reappointments to several boards and commissions from the mayor. So we will begin with the first one will be the reappointment of Mr. Patrick Camden to the Civil Service Commission for a 3-year term which will expire on May 1st, 2027. Motion would be in order.
So moved.
second.
Motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderwoman Gazal for the approval of the reappointment of Pat Camden to the Civil Service Commission. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And again, all of these reappointments expire on May 1st of 2024, so we have 3 reappointments to the Plan Commission, the first being Mr. Bill Thomas to another 3-year term on the Crest Hill Plan Commission, will expire on May 1st, 2027. Motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderman Verche,
Scott.
Dyke. Alderman Dyke for the reappointment of Bill Thomas to the Plan Commission. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
We have a reappointment of Mr. Ken Carroll for another 3-year term on the Crest Hill Plan Commission, which will expire on May 1st, 2027. Motion would be in order.
So moved.
So moved.
Who was that down here? Joe? Nate. Motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderperson Oberlin for the reappointment of Ken Carroll to the Crest Hill Plan Commission. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And a reappointment of Cheryl Slabazeski to the Crest Hill Plan Commission, which will expire on May 1st, 2027, also for a 3-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Albert. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And the last reappointment is to the Police Pension Board for Mr. John Smith. This is a 2-year term which will expire on May 1st of 2026. Motion would be in order.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of John Smith to the Police Pension Board for a 2-year term to expire May 1st, 2026. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for all of those reappointments. They will be notified tomorrow for their reappointment. The only other thing that I have is my wife, Vicki, and I were able to attend the Lockport Township Fire Department annual award ceremony last Friday night. It is very somber. They honor all of the deceased firefighters, and they have their award ceremony for all of the firemen that go above and beyond the call of duty for the past year. So congratulations to all of those individuals. Thank you not only to our Lockport Township Fire Department, but to our Crest Hill Police Department for their sacrifices they make to protect us every day and for the jobs that they do. So just wish them health and safety on their tour of duty each and every night. That is it from the mayor, unless there's any questions. Moving on to our city clerk's report. Christine Verche Hall. Good evening, Chris.
Thank you. The only thing I have is to announce our community-wide garage sale. It is Thursday, May 16th through Sunday, May 19th. There is a $5 permit fee. Maps will be available on 5/15. And the last day to get your address on our list is May 14th. If there are any questions, please call our office at 815-741-5100. And that's all I have to report.
Questions of city
Chris,
clerk?
I just want to thank you and Karen for all your help today. It was much appreciated, and I'm glad we got it all done, but thank you and thank Karen.
Thank you. Will do.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Moving on to our city treasurer's report, our treasurer, Glenn Conklin. Good evening, Glenn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First item I have is I seek your approval on an ordinance approving the budget of the city of Crest Hill for the fiscal year commencing on May 1st, 2024 and ending April 30th of 2025.
Motion would be in order.
So move.
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderperson Oberlin for an ordinance approving the budget of the City of Crest Hill for the fiscal year commencing May 1st, 2024 and ending April 30th, 2025. Questions or comments?
Mayor, just one comment. I mentioned this at the work session last week, and I, again, want to applaud Lisa, Glenn, Ron, Tony, everybody that was involved with this budget. The first presentation with the general fund being in such a deficit, I voted against it, but I'm much more confident now with the general fund being in the black, and then with our capital projects. So appreciate all your work in getting those numbers down. Thank you.
Roll call.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Abstain.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ordinance 1981.
I want to thank you all for your vote, and I also want to give a big thanks and real deep gratitude for the work that was done by, in particular, Lisa on this, also Tony, Ron, Ed, maybe Mike. Everybody did a great job, and you guys did a great job of supporting the concept and making a reality, having a balanced budget on the operations side. So looking forward to next year and the debate and the considerations we'll be bringing to you, and looking for your help and thoughts on how we're gonna remain sustainable. So thank you on all that. Again, thanks, Lisa.
It's a work team effort. And hopefully we continue working on it.
That's a good thing. Next, I seek your approval for a list of bills issued through April 16th, 2024, in the amount of $552,616.73.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Alderman Dyke, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of the list of bills. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you all. The last thing is just informative, our regular and overtime payroll from March 25th, 2024 through the 7th of April in 2024, total $255,759.66. That's all I have for this evening, and I'll entertain any questions if you have any.
Questions of the treasurer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's not a question. Thank you, and good night.
Thanks, Glenn. Unfinished business, we have nothing on the agenda. Anyone? New business? Committee liaison reports, anybody? City council comments? We have an agenda item for the resolution to schedule a non-union employee performance evaluations with salary recommendations.
I called them that, well, I didn't call, I sent an email, but I'm not sure why this is on the, under city, under elected official. Doesn't make sense. Remember I emailed, why is this on?
And I responded that it was requested by a council member, and that's who put it on there, that's where they
Which
put it.
council member requested? I requested that.
I believe, Alderperson Oberlin requested it be on the agenda. On it. Tony, you wanna take it?
Waiting for Alderperson Overman to respond. Yeah, that's the way, my notes reflected that, Councilman Overland was asking the attorney to, is it appropriate to put a resolution, requesting for us to meet the timeline? And you guys had some discussion in regards to that, so I just took the lead that that's what she requested for a resolution to get prepared for it, so. It's right
My
under,
understanding, we're gonna have that meeting on the 29th, and
yes.
so we need a resolution for that?
Well,
Or is that to confirm it because it keeps being rescheduled?
I think that was the motivation. I'll let Councilperson Oberlin speak to that, but I thought it was to basically make it a directive from the council that this will be done by this date. And I said that, yes, it could be on the agenda. I didn't draft a written resolution because I didn't think it needed it. I think you can just resolve to do it and direct the administrator, Tony, to have that done by the date that you want it.
Tina,
Yes.
do you have anything, any comments?
Well, my point was that this is, keeps getting, the line keeps getting pushed forward and it keeps getting dragged out, and we keep hearing reasons why it's not being done. And my point was to have it on there that it is to be done by this time, or else, there's gonna have to be some kind of repercussions. That was my point.
Would you like this by resolution or just by vote?
Just by vote.
Okay.
So, Tina, would you like to make the motion to direct Tony to have this done by the 29th of April?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Alderperson Overland, seconded by Alderwoman Gazal to have a deadline of April 29th, 2024, with recommendations from performance evaluations and salary recommendations. Questions or comments? Roll call.
I have one question. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you, Tony, you did mention that you were waiting for, Dave Straw would get back to work about this?
Yes, before Dave left on vacation, he did provide me the folder. I prepared a spreadsheet scoring all the evaluations for Dave. I told him I could get a little ahead of the game. And then once he gets back, he was gonna look at some recommendations in regards to salaries and merit.
Okay, and he'll be back to work by the 29th, right?
Yeah, he's coming around the 22nd is when he's due back to work.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Roll call?
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
and Nate Albert.
No.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, now we're back to council comments. We'll begin with Alderman Dyke.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Alderman Jefferson,
Nothing at this time.
Alderwoman Gazal.
I don't have a comment, I have a question for you, Mayor. As the mayor of the city, you don't have comments about the budget?
I do. I will make them at a later date.
Today's budget passed, okay, thank you.
Alderperson Oberlin,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Spitty,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Dyke, or Halbert, I'm sorry.
Go again, Scott. Nothing tonight, Mayor, thanks.
Alderman Kubal.
Nothing to add, Mayor.
Okay. Public comment. Anyone like to address city council, please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Address is optional. Let the records show that no one has addressed the, approached the, oh, ma'am.
Hi, Lynn Reyes. I live at Oakland, as you probably already know. Every day my husband and I walk our dog, and we see all kinds of stuff. Garbage day, we see that guy drive through the neighborhood like a crazy person, throwing all the stuff out of his truck, which we walk around, pick back up and put in garbage cans. I think they should do a little better job of getting the stuff in their truck. We notice things in the neighborhood that we are not happy about. Loose dogs. I wonder how many dogs a person can have. We personally were attacked by a dog. They seem to have gotten rid of that dog. Now they have 2 more dogs. And they don't chain them properly. They have them chained to the bottom of the lawn chairs, to these steel lawn chairs. They're not chained. They don't have a fence. It bit my dog. It's bit other people's dogs. It's bit people's kids. I've had ladies coming through there saying, have you seen this dog? It just bit my kid as he was riding his bike to the pool. So anyways, I thought we had leash laws or something in Crest Hill that would keep these people, behaving with their dogs. There's a couple of streets that just seem to have people being attacked all the time. I mean, I've 5 people, and including myself and my husband. Let's see. The other thing is, I just heard tonight, another person was chased by a dog, and they have 4 dogs. So, I mean, don't we have some kind of a thing where we register our dogs and they kind of keep track? And also, who would we call about something like that? If we notice, the other thing is drug dealers. If we notice them on our street and they're picking up bags of stuff from a car, is there a number we can call, like a hotline or something, where we can say, hey, this person's on this street, on this corner, we just saw interchange of drugs. Because naturally, we don't want that on our street either. So that's what I have to say.
As far as the dogs, there is a limit in regards to how many animals that you can have.
Right.
Through the clerk's office. We do have a contract with Joliet Township Animal Control on McDonough Street and Infantry. You can certainly call them.
So we can call them.
In regards to the problems that you have with the so-called drug deals, I would suggest that you dial the emergency number for the police department.
Okay.
When it's happening.
Yes, but then they come to your house, and then people know who's turning them in. I'm like, is there a secret number you can call?
No secret numbers.
Well, I don't want to be the one turning them in.
I will
Stuff
let
to
the
my house.
police chief answer.
You can always come to the station too and ask to speak to an officer if you don't want them to see you
Yeah,
and
because
see
I
you.
don't want them to come to my house.
Yeah, I know. If you come to the station, then, and also, just like the mayor said, call the non-emergency number. And if you're reporting, if you're seeing it happening right as you're watching it,
Take
call us.
pictures of the person.
Yeah,
Just
I would
picks
call
up
us.
bags of stuff, and
Yeah.
we see the street goes on all the time, and
Well, if you have a few moments, I'd like to talk to you after
Sure.
the meeting as well.
that's all I have to say.
Ma'am?
I live on a street that most
Your
of
name
it is.
first for the record, please.
Hi. I live on a street that's mostly rentals. There's 2 owners, and the person next to me has 4 dogs that don't do anything but let them come in my yard. I have a dog. We have a privacy fence that don't get out. I keep mine on a leash. When I walk them, I take mine to PetSmart for, to exercise. He's a husky. This one next to me lets 2 pits and 2 boxers. I got chased by them today. I called the police on them. They come. I called so many times, I got called for harassment. I don't know what to do.
We do have a ordinance that says the animals must be leashed or fenced. So
The animal control took away and brought them right back. Then we get blamed for it.
Well, as long as our police chief's gonna be meeting with your friend there, why don't you stick around and he can probably help you out also. Fair enough? Okay. Steve?
Yes, Steve Kemnitz. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. So much to say about what's happening. And see, basically, I wanted to talk to Ed. Great job, man. You and the officers are doing a great job, and we got your back. Always will. There's a lot of people like me that got your back, so just so you know that. I mean, it's getting bad to where I can tell you how to save some money, maybe. There's other counties doing this throughout America. They screen veterans. You can't have a felony. They put them in the schools, and some mayors deputize them in case of emergencies. So that's a thought. And you don't have to pay them as much as the cops, because no pension. It's like a volunteer cop. Not saying I want to do it. I'm incognito, man. I just move around. But, and I mean, you talk about saving money. I mean, I don't know you, but we got a city intern this, intern that, and other cities, the mayor does all that. You know, I mean, we got to get down to roots here. Government has become way too big in the whole country. You got oversight committees for this, oversight committees for that. It's nothing but big pension plans. So, I mean, just grassroots stuff. Just food for thought, though, about the deputizing thing. I can send you a link. You can check it out. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
And, you know, it'll help the schools. You know, we get these alert schools on lockdown. Well, if the police departments, and I was almost there that day at Marish because my buddy canceled. He texts me at 10, you know, hey, I'm glad we canceled. I'm like, well, I'm glad too, because you'd have probably found the 2 people, Chief, right in the parking lot. So, but anyway, you know, you might want to think that. But Chief, you're doing a great job, and you got your back, brother. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Jafri, and I actually been having issues with like a shed I had put up last year, about like 7, 8 months ago. So I had actually contacted Claudia as well, because I came into the village a good amount of times, and I had it done by like a company, like my cement, my concrete, everything was approved. And I guess this year, somehow, some way, they had an issue or a problem with my shed, like out of nowhere. So, I mean, I've been trying to fix it. I sold the shed like 2 weeks ago. And then they also sent me like a violation for like $750 and a court hearing when I had no shed. So they said someone came out on a Friday sent me a violation for that much and then a court hearing without even having a shed outside, because I had done it in like 4 days, but somehow the violation still came. So, I mean, I just wanted to see, because I saw it on public notice thing, that the variance that was filed for someone that lives on 2001 Noonan, they had a shed that was, I guess, approved without having a permit on easement, 1 foot away from the fence. And the only issue that they had, which the inspector actually passed, I talked to him, and he actually passed everything that was happening, because everything happening was through the city hall. So later on, they said it was supposed to be 5 feet away, but I don't have more concrete to go 5 feet away unless I get him back, spend thousands of dollars, and then get him 5 feet away from it. So they actually, I've been having issues with that. So I actually sold the shed so I don't get violations and stuff, even though I was sent one for no reason, without a shed being out there. So like, I didn't know how that was automatically generated for me to get a court hearing and a $750 fine without no one actually coming, but automatically generating it, to be honest. But then also, like, it's been, like I said, 7 months. And then when I talked to the inspector, I told him about my shed. It has slab, like concrete for shed on the permit itself, knowing that I was gonna put up a shed. So I just wanted to see if there was a way, like I could do a variance where I don't have to put in like $4,000 or $5,000 extra than what I already put in to have a shed there. Because the only thing I'm gonna do is actually buy a shed now and put it there. Because I already sold the other one, because I didn't want to deal with court issues going back and forth or violations like I got. So I sold it right away. But now that I'm getting a shed, I just wanted to see if it's possible to be able to put the shed where it was and not have like any issues with that.
Well, here's what I would suggest. You meet when we're done here with our community development director. He can get some information from you, your address and everything else. I will tell you that there's a process that you would need to go through if there would be a variance needed in regards to the administrative hearing ticket that you received, and you said this was it's been going on for 7 months. I'm sure that there's a trail of paperwork, and I will tell you that the ticket, the violation that you received would not happen immediately. It's after a long time, usually several months, where there's no activity or whatever. So I would suggest if you're supposed to have a meeting with the administrative hearing officer this Wednesday, and I don't know what your date is on that.
They actually voided when I came in.
They voided it?
Yeah, because the thing is, when I got you know how they put like a sticker for like my shed? Within
Well, I would verify with Ron that it has been voided.
Okay.
And that it's off the docket.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'll need to appear.
Okay.
Okay?
It has been voided because he reached out to me and I reached out to Don.
I talked to Don as well.
Right,
So like
it
he
was
said
a
he'll take
mistake.
care of it.
Correct, it was a mistake
Okay.
on our end.
Because
But
the
this is the
inspect-
same gentleman that I've mentioned in one of the meetings when we had the variance that we're opening a can of worms, and
Because the inspector that was actually contacting me quit. So for him not to have communication with the village doesn't come on me as a resident, because I didn't do anything, because he told me I had 10 days and he was gonna extend it 2 more times. Now that he quit, I was trying to contact his cell phone, nobody was there. So I came in to Don, he didn't know anything what was happening. So it's like, if he quit, it doesn't come on to me, getting court hearings and violations when I'm trying to do my best to get every single permit. I got solar panels permit, fence permit, I got everything since the last 5 years. I also have a chiropractic business, my wife is a chiropractor in Crest Hill. So I'm trying to do as much as I can through the right book, and I just got stuck. This guy that had no permit, he was 1 foot away from the fence. Like, he did everything wrong, literally from A to Z. He's approved. And I did nothing wrong, I was trying to do everything, and the inspector told me this is fine for a shed. So, I mean, where was I gonna put a shed? It's a 11 by 11 concrete. So I told him it's a 10 by 10 shed. He said, okay, that's fine. But later now, it's an issue, like 7, 8 months later, they said to remove it. So that's the only thing that I was like kind of surprised. Like, I tried to do everything off of the book and actually went backwards, so.
Okay, I had to talk with Ron, because he can talk with Don tomorrow then in regards to everything. So,
Okay.
again, I'm sure there's a long paper trail here of everything.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay? All right. I see there is a need, gentlemen, Mike, Tony? There is a need for an executive session. We have one for 2C11 for litigation, and we have one for 2C2 for collective negotiating matters. And C1, okay. And so I would ask for a motion to go into executive session.
So move, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderman Jefferson to go into executive session. Roll call, please, Chris.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
All right, we'll be going into executive session at 8:50 PM.